Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello. Hey, good. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just kind of wrapping up for the day here.
Yeah. I'm just getting my day started. It's 9 a.m. in California.
It's 6 p.m. here in Spain. We're calling all bases.
Yeah, it's so cool how with digital gatherings like this, we can span time zones and bring people together all around the world. So it's awesome to be here with you today.
Yep. Yeah, same here. We have somebody from Sweden too. So hello. We're closer actually to each other. So that's good. Yeah, no, pretty excited to be here. I think we are gonna cover some really cool topics. It's a weird time for everybody, and there's a lot of uncertainty that we're seeing. But I also feel like I haven't seen this much creativity in the marketing world in the past 2 weeks that I've seen in the past 7 years. So there's a lot of things that I'm excited to talk about, some examples that we both seen that have worked pretty well. So yeah, I think that'll be really interesting. I guess also for everybody, if anytime you guys have any questions, there'll be a Q&A session right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But if you guys have any questions, feel free to jump in. Somebody from Texas too. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Amy. Awesome. Yeah, welcome. We'll just give folks about 30 more seconds before we start to dive into the conversation because we want to give people some space to trickle in. But it's super exciting to see you all popping in. Be sure to say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and we'll get started in just a few seconds here. So welcome everyone to today's webinar, Community Gathering Style. It's awesome to have you here to talk about navigating uncertainty and dive into effective ways for digital marketers, especially people who are responsible for growing direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands, to be able to effectively manage the changes that we're facing in this uncertain landscape. And our sincere hope today is that you'll get some inspiration and enjoy the conversation. So please feel free to, talk to us, ask questions, leverage the chat on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will get started. So today, we will kick things off by introducing ourselves. Then we'll kind of dive into the state of e-commerce for D2C brands right now. From there, we will kind of give a high-level overview of ways that D2C brands are effectively managing the changes that we've all been facing during COVID-19. And during this section of the presentation, we're gonna focus on things that are going really well, and hopefully leave you with some ideas on how to continue to set yourself up for success through 2020. And then we will end with giving an overview and some ideas on cost-effective marketing channels that you can leverage throughout the rest of the year to help you set yourself up for success when things kind of come back to normal and this crisis that we're in comes to a halt, and then we'll wrap it up with key takeaways and a Q&A. Cool. So my name is Stephanie Avi. Please feel free to call me Steph, and I am the Community Marketing Manager at AdRoll. AdRoll is a division of Nextroll Inc. And AdRoll is the growth marketing platform for direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands. I am the person behind a really awesome community called the Guerilla Collective, also known as the GGC, and it's a space and place for D2C e-commerce marketers to connect, help each other out, share experiences, ask questions, and meet like-minded peers. Raul works at ReferralCandy, and he's responsible for partnerships. So we are super excited to be here today and connect with you. So to kick things off, we want to dive into the state of e-commerce for D2C brands. And you know, we thought we had it all figured out at the beginning of 2020. Things were going super well. We really hit the ground running. But, you know, obviously COVID happened and consumer behaviors changed. And what is kind of amazing about this, especially for D2C e-commerce brands, is that consumers are shopping online. Like, they're not going to malls anymore. They're not going to in-person stores. So now more than ever, e-commerce brands and e-commerce stores have a huge opportunity to set themselves up for success when things go back to normal, and even continue to grow during this challenging time. And that's not to say that COVID is a good thing at all. This is definitely a crisis, and it's not to be taken lightly. But there are some upsides for folks who are digitally native, or folks who are optimizing and planning their online strategy. So something that's extremely fascinating, there's a group called Mercatus who recently did a survey of measuring online shopping behavior and people's engagement with shopping online. And since COVID began, there's been an overwhelming 1,200% increase in online shopping account registrations, along with a 300% increase in mobile app downloads. So something that to me is a really obvious opportunity is that people are a lot more receptive to engaging with things online. And the other interesting thing about the study is, like, we as an industry, as consumers in the world, we were not expected to reach this type of online engagement for shopping until 2025. And because of COVID, we're actually hitting that point a lot earlier. And this crisis has kind of forced us into this forward-thinking way of consumer behaviors.
Yeah. I just to kind of jump in here. So again, sorry everybody for the technical issues. Something that one of the craziest stats that I've heard about e-commerce in the past few days, something that the CTO of Shopify mentioned, I think it was in mid-April, and that they were having Black Friday traffic every single day after April 15, which is crazy, you know, because Black Friday is something that, you know, all merchants are preparing to. At Shopify, you know, they tell kind of like all the merchants, like, you know, don't worry, we got this. Our servers are ready for that spike in traffic those days. Now they're having that traffic every single day. So, like you said, I mean, there's so many things that have changed in the past few weeks, and you know, fortunately, e-commerce hasn't been hit as many other industries have. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunity there. Like you said, also kind of like, you know, following up on this same stat, we're spending more time online than ever. We're spending more time on our phones than ever. And, you know, like, our attention is there because, you know, there's nothing else that we can do outside. So especially during the first weeks of kind of like the lockdowns in different parts of the world, we've seen a lot of brands that suddenly they realize that we're getting a lot more attention than they were, you know, in the entire first quarter. So, you know, those are, I mean, again, we'll cover this later, but definitely an opportunity there for pretty much everybody in the D2C.
Yeah, I agree. Even just thinking about my own personal behavior, I'm an iPhone user, and I get those weekly reports of like how much time I'm spending on my phone. And definitely since I've been sheltering in place and haven't had as much opportunity to engage with my friends and family, and like, you know, actually physically go to a yoga class where I'm turning my phone off. Now I'm doing all of those things on my phone. Yeah. And so my own usage is up by like 50%. So it's just some fascinating things. Definitely as consumers, as people, we're just a lot more engaged online, which is, as bad as this whole situation is, like, that's pretty awesome for digital marketers. And to me, it just shows that like our jobs are more important than ever right now. And we can truly, really help our companies be successful and like not only survive in this time, but set ourselves up to thrive kind of once it sizzles down. Cool. So long story short, people are being browsy. Something that digital marketers are definitely experiencing on the paid advertising front is that the cost to acquire a new customer is up by quite a lot. For example, there's a member of the GGC community who they sell like these really cute pants, and units typically go for somewhere between like $65 and $100 for a pair of the pants. And normally their CAC is somewhere between $30 and $50, 50 being on the high side. But since COVID-19, their CAC went up to about $130 to acquire a new customer. And, you know, that's just, it's not good. Like, you can't continue to acquire customers at that cost when, you know, the cost of acquiring the customer is more than what their average purchase is going to be. But however, the cost for impressions, more of that top of the funnel reach in paid advertising is down. So right now is a great time to be focusing more on kind of like fun, engaging content that shows who your brand is, like what you're all about in your paid advertising. And then it's also time to double down on your existing customers, along with the channels that most effectively reach them. I think as marketers, even though like we know that we should always market to customers who have already purchased from us, and also customers who haven't purchased from us yet, but who are maybe about to, we sometimes put that on the back burner. And it's because we tend to have a bias for, you know, like reach the new, bring in the new, convert the new. But like now more than ever, we really need to be prioritizing customer-centric marketing. And yeah, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, but the cost to retain is 5 times cheaper than it is to acquire a new customer. They're also a lot more likely to buy, and they're also a lot more likely to buy new products. And then, you know, last but not least, it's a huge opportunity. Like, most companies don't prioritize marketing to the customers that they already have. And that's really kind of your bread and butter. So, Raul, I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences, things that you've been seeing with your customers when it comes to focusing on customer-centric marketing.
I mean, a lot of companies are going now into retaining mode, basically. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're continuing their ads campaign and maintaining pretty much all their marketing channels, but they're definitely doubling down on retention, because I mean, again, it just makes sense. And I think I totally agree with you what you were saying about kind of like pursuing the growth at all costs. I feel like that's kind of been that's something, that's a trend that has been going on for a while, and I think that's definitely something that's going to change. Because again, it's time for companies to focus on profitability, to focus on retention, basically, and not forget about the customers that you have. One of the things that I like to say about just kind of like customer retention in general is that retaining a customer, and even more, like having them talk to their friends and family about your brand, it's like the perfect salesperson, because they trust you so much, they trust your product so much that they were willing to pay money for it. A lot of salespeople might not. And so, and also the fact that these people, when they're talking to their friends and family about your product, they don't sound like a salesperson. They sound like somebody they trust, and it's a referrals and recommendations are legit, in the sense that nobody will recommend something to a friend if they wouldn't think that it's going to be valuable for them. So we're seeing a lot of companies coming to try customer retention tools, and like trying to basically amplify the effect that they have on their existing customers, and definitely also just like nurturing their customers too. Like one of the things that I've seen right now is that a lot of brands are starting to like provide free content, provide free digital products in a way to their clients, extending kind of like features that we're already offering to their existing customer base to keep them happy, basically. So I'm glad that it's obviously not the perfect it's not the right thing that happened for all these brands to kind of like turn into, okay, we should probably pay more attention to our existing customers. But I'm definitely glad, because that's something that's going to stay. After all this happens, companies will definitely continue to pay more attention to their existing customers.
Yeah, awesome. So to kind of wrap it all up, keep on going. There's this awesome study that was done about 10 years ago that dug into data around companies who either continued with their marketing efforts or cut their marketing efforts across different recessions. And basically what they found was that for companies who reduced their marketing budget by 50% during times of crisis, it took them 2 years to get back to normal post-crisis, and they lost market share. But companies that increased their exposure during downturn actually gained 3 times the amount of market share during those 2 years of recovery. And as marketers, we know that our jobs are super important. We definitely drive the growth and engagement for the brands that we are responsible for growing. And sometimes what's hard during times when maybe your company is kind of figuring out ways to optimize and be more efficient, marketing budgets are usually discretionary. And so your company might cut back on them. So what's super important now more than ever is to advocate and show information like this to folks in your company, people who are making the decisions around how to allocate budget, to make the case for continuing with your marketing efforts.
Yeah, and just to add something on that, there was recently a study I think it was by Klaviyo, where they basically analyzed the number of orders that were being placed over the past few weeks, and you definitely saw an increase there. And also in the sense that so it's e-commerce is still extremely competitive. That's kind of my bottom line, in the sense that it's not a good time. It's never a good time to cut down on marketing, and it's definitely not a good time to cut down on marketing right now if you're a D2C brand, because if anything now we have more customers, but at the same time, everybody's trying to kind of like place their bets at the moment. I feel like during the second half of March, everyone was kind of on bunker mode, like, okay, let's wait, let's see what happens, and see what happens next. Then next, I feel like the first half of April was like, okay, we're still here. E-commerce is growing, actually. Okay, we need to kind of double down, because everybody around us is doubling down on ad spend. I think it only took a few days in April to recover from that dip in March in ad spend across, at least in the e-commerce world. And then the second half of April was, again, like continuous growth. So again, there's never a good time to cut down on marketing, and this is definitely now one of them, because again, everybody else is kind of like fighting for the same new market that's opening up.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So let's dig into some ways that D2C marketers are effectively managing the changes that they're facing. And to kind of frame that up, I'd love to define what marketing change management is. Marketing change management is the strategic and agile approach marketers take when preparing for or reacting to changes in markets and consumers' behaviors. I think marketers do this pretty naturally. It's kind of part of the job. Like, we have this area of what we do where we are making predictions about what will happen and making some educated bets. And then we are also having to react to things that we're seeing in the market, whether that's a new competitor coming in or a change like as big as COVID happening that's really drastically the way that people are shopping and how they're behaving and what they're doing in their day-to-day lives. But I personally have been so inspired by the community members in the GGC and have seen some just like phenomenal work that has been cranked out in a really short amount of time. So I'd love to kind of dive into what that looks like. And I think a good way to set that up is to talk about things that people are not doing. So effective D2C marketers are not turning off their marketing efforts or drastically decreasing their budgets. We kind of just talked about that, but just super important to reiterate. And they're definitely not stopping communication with their customers. And I think what we initially felt was like, whenever something like a crisis is happening, we kind of have this conundrum where, we don't necessarily know how to talk about what's happening in our marketing channels. So whether that's messaging on a paid advertisement or copy in an email or how you talk about your products on your website, we as marketers have to dance this like fine dance between not capitalizing or doing something unethical when we're facing something like the crisis of COVID-19, but also not ignoring it and figuring out how to talk to our customers in a new way through our marketing channels. So definitely, like, now more than ever, customers are super open and responsive to the brands that they are shopping from and engaging with. And now is the time to continue communicating with them in the many ways in which you do. So whether that's running paid advertisements, managing email marketing programs, working on new creatives on your website and copy on your website, managing how you are engaging with your community on organic social. Definitely, like, keep on doing it. And then most importantly, effective marketers are not taking this crisis as a marketing opportunity. So it's kind of like, wait, but we're talking about how to market effectively during times of crisis and when you're navigating uncertainty. So what we mean by this is, what we mean by this is now is not the time to necessarily be focusing on increasing market share or trying to make the most profit. So for example, it would be pretty unethical if toilet paper companies and brands or companies that produce personal protective equipment all of a sudden raise their prices because the demand is so high. Yeah. So.
Yeah, actually, I think we're going to talk about like what marketers are doing right now. I mean, totally agree with the fact that this is not something you can use as an opportunity. And I also feel like when I talk to e-commerce merchants whose businesses are doing well, they have kind of like this sense of kind of like guilt talking about the success that they're having with their stores at the moment. We've seen that. One of the clients I was talking to the other day, that they're selling fresh vegetables online, and their store like literally triple the number of orders in the span of 3 weeks. So, and again, there's like this kind of like weird sense of like, well, we can't really be happy about this because it's not the situation, but that's kind of where the market led us. But talking about, again, we'll talk about this in a second, but maybe I'll save my example for later. But in terms of communicating, I think communication is more important than ever. If you really need to be able to communicate effectively whatever you're trying to say to your customers, especially if you're trying to send a message of like, kind of like support and stuff. I've seen that everywhere now on TV, on ads, radio, lots of companies that are just like sending support, but you can tell that it's not, not original, not, that they're not really feeling it, and they're just kind of like delivering a canned message. I'm sure there's something your brand can deliver to their customers in a way that it's, that their customers recognize that the brand's talking to them, and that it's like an individual message for them. So, I've seen great examples of this. Again, a lot of companies feel like they're like being forced of like sending this support message, which, again, it's a nice thing to do, but do it right. Do it in a way that you truly mean it, which, we all do basically.
Yeah, definitely. So people who are, I think, marketing really well right now, and folks who are seeing a lot of success and engagement with their brands, they're really showing customers that they care and understand, and they're meeting them where they're at. So I think this image on the right-hand side of the slide is a screenshot of a marketing email from this awesome t-shirt brand TeePublic. And when I opened it, I literally laughed because I had just watched Tiger King, and it was kind of a couple weeks ago when everybody was watching it. Not that people aren't still watching it now, but they effectively communicated with me, their customer, by sharing content that made me laugh, which was refreshing. B, they really strategically pulled products from their store in relation to Tiger King. And the subject line for the email was, "Hey, all you cool cats and kittens." So I think that's just a really wonderful example of showing their customers that they care in a way that's making them laugh, and meeting them where they are, understanding the experience that they're having by sharing highly relevant content and products, and giving them a really nice experience with their brand upon opening the email. So just loved it. And I think that there's so much that we can do that doesn't always focus on the doom and gloom, but is still highly relevant, engaging, and shows your audience and your customers that you care.
Yeah, so the example that I was going to talk about, which is it's also comes to show in my opinion, one of the most important marketing strategies that brands have been doing in the past few years, and it's definitely going to be it's going to continue being really important, which is basically building a community around your brand. Building communities is something that it's just it's crucial, and I've seen companies from literally every single industry doing that. And when they do it effectively, it's great because it acts as a great way to introduce new products. It's a great way to get customers to talk to each other. They don't know they have something in common. They have not necessarily their love for the product, but definitely the kind of that share hobby or share a activity they do together that's related to the product. So one particular example of great messaging during COVID that I've seen, it's this brand that's called Minimalism, and it's a clothing company basically, which is you have to walk on a very fine line when you're talking about minimalism, but also selling products. But they do it very well in the sense that they produce products that are really high quality. So it's kind of against the fast fashion concept. So you buy one of their clothes, the piece of clothing, it's gonna last for a long time, etc. So it's very interesting because during Black Friday and Cyber Monday, their messaging is buy it only if you need it. So like they're, in a way, they're even not encouraging customers to buy from them. But they're being able to also, and because minimalism is it's also kind of like an ideology, you would say. So they have a community of people that follow them on social media and they interact in comments. So they have a very close relationship with their clients. So the first thing that they did after, they're from Spain. So as soon as the government created the lockdown here, the first thing that they did was that they shut down the store. And they said, we're going to be off for a while, and in the meantime, they continue creating content for their customers. So they continue with their podcast. They continue posting stuff on social media and asking customers, how are you guys doing? Share your thoughts, that kind of thing. Replying to them. So continue the conversation. And then at some point they asked, because we're starting the de-escalation process over here. They said, okay, should we open now? What do you guys think? Is it ethical to open? What? And everybody said, yes, please do. And, now their stores open again. They've launched new products and people are responding really well. But just because they did really good work, not only during the lockdown period, but before that, by building that community of like-minded people that believed in their brand and what they sell.
Yeah, absolutely. Community marketing is extremely powerful. And it is all about engaging and rallying the community behind your brand and around it. And that doesn't always mean selling them anything, but it means engaging them in ways that are interesting and meaningful to them. And then when it does come time to reopen or introduce a new product or whatever it is you're doing, you all of a sudden have this pool of highly engaged people who are going to convert. And there's so many ways that folks can do this. One of our customers who's awesome, ReferralCandy, they have a private Facebook group of customers who they're highly engaged customers, and the CEO and founder, Kayla, she gives them exclusive content through that private Facebook group. They get exclusive products, like they get hair tutorials that only they have access to. She's also doing things like teaching parents how to cut their kids' hair at home through that community. And so those are that's to me just like a really amazing example of how she super effectively rallies her community around ReferralCandy's brand. And then just to highlight, being able to adopt your marketing program strategically and quickly is super important always, but especially during times of crises. So while to our earlier point, you don't want to stop marketing, that doesn't mean you should be marketing in the same way or leveraging the exact same channels. It's really important to look at what's working and what's not and double down on the things that are working. And I think I don't know, I've seen so many amazing brands flip and quickly execute that it's just been extremely inspiring and awesome to see. Cool. So just to tie it all together, the brands right now who are prioritizing a customer-centric marketing strategy are the ones who are going to win big when this crisis is over. And I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this. This is a flywheel. It's really just another way to represent a customer journey. So often in times in marketing, we think about a customer's journey, a buyer's journey, using the funnel framework. However, the funnel's linear, and it kind of demonstrates this this flow where the customer drops off the bottom and then out they go, and then you fill the top. And that's that kind of framework and thinking. It's not bad or wrong, but it's missing a big opportunity with the customers who have made the purchase. And that's why I really like the flywheel. This is how my team thinks about our marketing. And customers, instead of falling out the bottom, they're in the middle. And they are the momentum that keeps the business spinning by virtue of being able to attract, engage, and delight new customers. So rather than customers being like, okay, like purchased, forget about them, you continue to engage them, and they are really firing up and continuing your brand growth and business development.
Yeah, this is, I mean, what we do at ReferralCandy is basically, it's just a way of like, keeping your customers engaged and if you can incentivize them to come back and buy again from your brand, well, there's ways that you can do that, but also most importantly, get them to talk about you. And again, like we were discussing at the beginning of the webinar, how expensive it is to acquire a new customer, just to have them drop at the end of the funnel and and forget about them. So it's just too expensive. Even if you want to look at it from kind of like the financial perspective of it, it's so expensive to acquire a new customer that it doesn't make sense to not to create some sort of campaign that continues to remarket those customers, because you can leverage them in many different ways. Just by again being a new customer again, but also by like I said, turning them into an advocate for your brand. And it kind of like explains perfectly the flywheel, because they kind of go back to the very beginning where they started, and they kind of keep going, getting that momentum. So yeah, definitely, this is definitely one of the things that we're seeing the most in the past few weeks. A lot of stores that maybe put that on hold for a while, never thought that. Not sure if customer retention, but like any sort of like customer loyalty, customer referrals were probably not the right thing for them to do. They're definitely considering that now. And again, it's wish it happened earlier in other circumstances. But it's definitely, happy that a lot of brands are starting to think about, because it's good from a consumer's perspective. Even if we think about us, not necessarily marketers, but consumers, knowing that a brand still cares about you after you give them their money, it's a great feeling, and consumers will definitely appreciate that.
Definitely. That's really what it's all about. It's continuing to build the relationship between your brand and your customers. And that's kind of like the magic. So yeah, good stuff. All right, so to kind of tie things off, we want to dive into cost-effective channels that digital marketers can leverage throughout the rest of the year to really set yourself up to be successful going forward post-crisis, and also during this time. So these are some super high-impact, low-cost marketing channels at your disposal. So email marketing is pretty obvious. It's very low cost, and it's a really great way to continue to engage the folks who have already engaged with your brand. And something that's super interesting, I can't remember off the top of my head where I saw this, but I'll go back to my notes and link the resource. There's this website that has basically pulled email data from a bunch of direct-to-consumer e-commerce stores. And basically what they've found since coronavirus hit was that while brands are sending more emails, the unsubscribe rate for emails is the same as it was pre-COVID. So it's kind of a leading indicator that people, consumers, customers are more interested in emails and getting emails from brands, and they're engaging with them. And kind of back to my example with TeePublic, where I was like, wow, I loved this. It made me laugh. It's a really awesome channel to leverage if you are like making the content interesting and engaging. So definitely double down there. Community and content is also an awesome thing to leverage, to our point earlier, with ReferralCandy, with HeadCandy, who created their community on Facebook of highly engaged customers. I've seen a bunch of other D2C brands do this effectively. Outdoor Voices creates a community across their social media, even on their products and their website with the hashtag doing things. And, they have people hashtag doing things when they're wearing their products. That's an example of community engagement. There's a swimsuit brand that I really like called Kitty and Vibe, and they used to host these pool parties where they would invite their customers who had bought swimsuits from them to do this really fun, hotel, rooftop pool party. And they've flipped those in real life events to online events where instead it's a dance party. So you're virtually joining your community of other Kitty and Vibe customers, and you're having a dance party with them. And so that brings me to virtual experiences. There's so much that you can do to either bring your in-store experience or any other type of event experience that you had online. So Beta Brand is another awesome example of this. They, in their store in San Francisco on Valencia Street, they used to have these fashion shows where they would invite customers to wear their pants and have cocktails and things like that. And they've brought those online, and it's been a really powerful community gathering strategy centered around bringing their customers together around their brand and continuing to drive that engagement and those relationships. And then definitely reviews and referrals. And I'll let Raul kind of dive into this one and share a couple of examples that he's seen.
Yeah. So, I feel like one of the things that customers have been paying more attention to in the past few years, and I'm glad that you tied it with reviews because they're both user-generated content. And that's something that a lot of customers have started to pay more attention in the past few years. It's basically we're smart consumers these days, and so we can see content marketing when we can identify very quickly, and so we always like to get some sort of validation from somebody that we know, or at least from another customer that already made the purchase. So getting either reading reviews or getting a recommendation from somebody, they're both fall under the same category of, okay, let's get some truth behind this. Let's get some real experiences from people that have tried the product. And so again, we've referrals, it's something that we see literally every day. And it's interesting because customers have been able to adapt their referrals to depending on how their customers buy. So we have a lot of customers that are selling subscription boxes, and what they do is that they offer a discount on the next subscription if you refer a friend. So it's a nice thing to get. You get your bill in the next month, and you see you have a discount. It's an extra incentive for you to kind of go out and tell your friends about it, which sometimes we've also seen, and this is kind of another strategy that some of our customers follow. They've realized that sometimes it matters more how much you're offering to the refer friend rather than the customer. And it's because they've realized that their customers refer the product just because they know that it's going to be valuable for somebody they care about. So we had this client that it was a subscription, I think it was subscription box that offered, I think it was a $10 reward to their clients who refer a friend, but for the friend it was a 90% discount on the first purchase, something crazy like that. And it's just, they knew that people will be happy to recommend that to their friends, even if they were just making $10 off it. Just the fact that you can tell your friend, hey, I'm going to give you a 90% discount on this really cool subscription box. Just if you use our link, that's a smart way of understanding your customers, how they talk about your brand and adapting it to a reward system.
Yeah, and I think even beyond offering discounts, true brand advocates are happy to refer.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's basically just giving them a way to be able to do that. And there's also, there's non-monetary rewards that you can provide your customers for referring as well.
Yeah.
I know for sure, I just referred Kitty and Vibe because I like their swimsuits and I've had a great experience being their customers. So there's like natural moments where people like that's the beauty of having a direct to consumer brand. Like you own the brand, you own the customer relationships, you have customer advocates. So like figure out how to help them advocate and kind of shout about your awesome brand and who you are. And then web SEO and user experience is something that I think digital marketers should definitely be prioritizing right now. Anything from doing interesting like image campaigns. Beta Brand I pulled as an example here. Instead of their regular like image and copy, they set up this really engaging and fun campaign that's relevant to times right now, where like their customers are all of a sudden working from home, and they came up with putting the ohm in work from home, and then have this like cute image of a person wearing the pants, doing different things that they can do in the pants in their work from home environment. You know, putting loungewear and like things that people are using higher up on your site, things like that, and making sure that you are working on your search engine optimization strategy so that your brand is discoverable. It is a very saturated market. Consumers definitely have a lot of options, and you want to make sure that they're able to find you. And then other things like doing co-branded partnerships, leveraging SMS and newsletter sponsorships are all really high impact, low cost marketing channels to leverage right now. SMS especially, because unlike email, it's immediate and people are more engaged with opening text messages. So I think that's definitely something that's trending in the community right now as a new channel that people are leveraging. And then newsletter sponsorships are awesome too, because they're pretty affordable, and newsletters like Retail Brew and Girls Night In and things like that have really high open rates are a really awesome way to be growing your audience reach.
Yeah, and SMS in particular, I think that has been one of the main shifts in the past few months. With one of the, I think there was a recent acquisition in the Shopify space with SMS Bump that it was an app that grew basically exploded in a few months and got acquired. I think it was in January. And again, it's SMS marketing. I think I saw a stat from them that the average SMS, so the average user opens an SMS within 3 seconds of receiving it, which is insane if you think about it. Like, there's no other marketing channel that has like that level of direct engaging. Like, you get it and you open it right away. But at the same time, it's a channel that has, email has always been, kind of like a mix. We get personal emails, we work, we get promotional emails, and we're okay with it. SMS, it's a more complicated, or a more, I would say, a little bit. It's a fine line that you have to walk through, and you gotta be careful. But if done correctly, it's an amazing channel for you to leverage. And I'm really happy that you brought up brand partnerships. I think no matter what you do, there's a partner for you out there. I mean, it's something that we do at ReferralCandy all the time, and this is an example of it. We love to partner with other companies in the e-commerce space to work together, and we actually encourage our customers to do that as well, because again, it's extremely easy, to get in front of another audience and leverage that in the not only having it as a one-time thing, but having it as an ongoing collaboration. It's extremely smart, and a lot of marketers are doing this very extremely efficiently. And SEO is it's a long-term plan, it's a long-term project. There's no better time to start than right now. Google's not going anywhere, and the quality of customers that you get through organic search, it's way better than most channels that you can try. So yeah, definitely worth it to if marketers have, if for a particular brand they haven't started doing it, to start doing it right now, because again, it's one of the basics. One of the things that I had in mind before the webinar is it's going back to the basics. I feel like a lot of marketers are kind of going back to the basics of building a list, focusing on SEO, user-generated content, ads, obviously, and so those are things that definitely need to. It's probably not the time for experiments. So going back to the basics is probably the safest bet.
Yeah, definitely. We are getting close to the top of the hour, and I want to leave a little bit of time for a question or two. So to just tie things off, definitely like D2C e-commerce brands to the front. This is how people are shopping now. I think that once things die down, they will continue to shop online, even more so than they were pre-COVID. So there's definitely opportunities to set yourself up for success right now. And then keep up your brand's marketing efforts. Don't stop. Be strategic. Prioritize high impact, low cost channels. Be super customer centric. And then last but not least, try out some of these cost efficient channels in your marketing mix that maybe you haven't been prioritizing, and figure out ways to meet your customers where they are through these channels. So email, organic social, referrals and reviews, double down in these areas as you are maybe pulling back a little bit from your paid advertising strategies. And then in your paid advertising strategies, focus on impressions versus acquiring new customers.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Again, kind of going back to the basics. Identify those channels that are kind of like the low-hanging fruit, where that, or channels that you've been working on for a long time, and then that work well. While at the same time, again, if you want to already start thinking about the post-COVID, because there'll be a post-COVID. That's one thing that we know for sure. And e-commerce, it's definitely here to stay. I feel like there's a lot of changes that are, again, it's difficult to make predictions on anything right now, but here's my 2 cents. The same way that I feel like a lot of companies will probably thinking about going remote, and maybe the offices will be something optional. I definitely see e-commerce definitely here to stay. I see there was a question about earlier in the chat about when we're supposed to reach the level of online shopping engagement, and I think you mentioned 2025, right? So we basically fast forward 5 years in a few months. So it's definitely time for marketers to get up to speed and get ready for that. Definitely.
All right, we have just a few minutes for a couple of questions. So if you have a question, please type it into the chat box, and we will go from there.
Oh, maybe we can start this question about any advice for B2B marketers.
Yeah, definitely. I personally feel like the same strategies that we dove into apply for B2B. Like I'm personally a B2B marketer, and having a highly customer-centric marketing strategy is just as important. So doing things like having a community marketing program, creating really interesting, engaging online event experiences for your customers, figuring out ways to help them manage their business strategies, showing up for them, meeting them where they are, making them laugh a little, continuing to develop the relationship that you have with them. It all applies. So yeah, I think that's what I would say.
I mean, yeah, I feel like all those apply. If I have to pick one, I think building brand partnerships. I mean, again, I'm the partner manager, so it's literally my job to get in touch with other companies that are in the e-commerce space and work together. That literally every company in the world has a potential partner that they can meet and tap on their audience. It's an extremely efficient way. It also helps you in the long run having connections in your industry. So, I mean, on top of everything that we've discussed, which again, I don't think that any of them don't apply to B2B, but if I had to focus on one, that would definitely be it.
Yeah, definitely. There's another question from Juliana. There is a clear switch from CRO to customer journey optimization, and whoever doesn't adopt this as a strategy will definitely lose in the long term. Yeah, totally agree. Creating a really wonderful experience for a customer from the second they like discover who you are to after they've bought is absolutely what should be your number one priority always, but especially now where right now I think people are really looking for meaningful relationships with the brands that they choose to interact with and shop from. So figuring out ways to delight them across every stage is critical. All right, we just have a minute or so left. So we just want to thank you so much for joining us today. This was super fun. This session was recorded, so we will be sharing it afterwards, and we'll link a couple of helpful resources related to the topics that we covered as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And if you guys have any questions, I guess you guys can always reach us by email. Happy to continue the conversation after this, which I feel like there's a lot of topics that we could continue the conversation on. So feel free to reach out to any of us, and we'll be happy to to continue chatting there.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Raul.
Yeah, thank you.